Let's take a look at the details now. An Accra High Court judge hearing a case between government and 12 labor unions over management of the Tier 2 pension scheme has granted an interlocutory injunction restraining the labor unions from embarking on future strikes. According to Justice Saeed Jan, the resumption of strike by the labor unions would lead to a meltdown of government business and cause what he terms irreparable damage to the country. Kwabna Chenchen Boateng has more.
The labor unions, including public health and education sector workers, recently declared a nationwide strike over what they described as government's failure and undue delay in paying their Tier 2 pension contributions to their selected fund managers. The government, in turn, sued the labor unions, praying the court to, among other things, rule on the rightful trustee responsible for managing the Tier 2 pension funds of public workers. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who filed the suit on behalf of government, prayed the court to declare the strike embarked upon by public sector workers illegal and subsequently get them to return to their posts. The court ruled in favor of government and granted an ex parte motion that lasted for 8 days. Government then followed up with an interlocutory injunction suit upon the advice of the judge to restrain the 12 labor unions from embarking on further strike actions. Delivering his judgment, Justice Saeed Jan said the resumption of the strike action by the labor unions would cause irreparable damage to the country. He, however, refrained from pronouncing judgment on whether or not the right to strike by workers is guaranteed by the Constitution. Meanwhile, counsel for the labor unions, Godfrey Dame, has described the ruling as a reactionary one that does not advance the rights of workers. He says his clients will be appealing the decision in the next few days.
Well, I think in many ways the judge got it wrong. We intend to advise ourselves after applying for a copy of the ruling. We think that's a very reactionary ruling. It is one that definitely does not advance the right of workers, and it ought not to stand. From that perspective, we have to appeal. Well, we have 21 days within which to do so. It's an interlocutory ruling. And of course, also pertinent to note that it is one that does not dispose of the matter at all. It only deals with our contention that our constitutional right to go on strike has been curtailed. That is all. Yes, as for the substantive matters raised before the court, they are still pending, and that will be dealt with, I think, in January. And the judge was very careful in making that clear.
He adds also that he is likely to seek interpretation at the Supreme Court on whether or not workers have a right to embark on strike actions.
The fact that even in the absence of a strike, there can be an order to prevent or to restrain a continuation of a strike. In the absence of an act, how can you restrain that act itself? And again, to say that public sector workers, when they advance on strike to protect their economic interests, the state's interests rather ought to prevail. To me, it's very reactionary. Arguments of respective counsel indicated that that right itself perhaps will have to be adjudicated upon by the Supreme Court. So the judge even indicated, well, he sitting at the High Court was only positioned to ascertain whether the Constitution expressly grants onto a Ghanaian worker the right to go on strike or not. I think that's a more accurate position.
Agric Minister Fifi Fiawikwete has told Parliament the inability of government to pay up fertilizer companies for the 2013 fertilizer subsidies has affected rollout of the fertilizer subsidy program for 2014. He made this announcement when Member of Parliament for Wale Wale asked about commencement of the distribution of the subsidized fertilizer.
The minister told the House government has paid 46 million out of the 64 million Ghana cedis it owed fertilizer companies some few weeks ago.
The remaining invoices are being processed, and we do anticipate that they should also be settled before the close of this year. Now, it is gratifying to note, however, that even though the National Fertilizer Subsidy Program was not rolled out because of the aforementioned reason, there were targeted fertilizer subsidies for rice production in the 2014 season. Under the IDAIF-sponsored rice project, a total of 49,953 bags of fertilizer have been given out to rice farmers in the northern, upper west, upper east, and the Volta regions. The objective is to increase rice production and to reduce import into the country. Also, under the Enhanced Access to Quality Rice Seed Initiative, being funded by the West Africa Agricultural Productivity Program, 6,000 bags of fertilizer have been distributed to 2,000 rice growers in Ashanti, Brongahafo, and Northern region to boost rice production. The cost of these two interventions amounts to 2,113,305 Ghana cedis.
The minister also said the ministry is taking steps to ensure a reduction of rising cost of basic food items.
The ministry is implementing various projects to increase the productivity and profitability of rice farming in various parts of the country. Under the Sustainable Development of Rain-Fed Lowland Rice Production project, various technologies have been developed for improved rain-fed lowland rice production in 9 districts in Ashanti and the northern regions. Through the project intervention, farmers' yields have increased from 2 tons per hectare in 2009 to 6.6 tons per hectare in 2013, with 1,700 farmers benefiting from the project. Now, the ministry is also collaborating with EDIFE, and in that collaboration, we started a project to stimulate growth in the rice industry and, for that matter, step up rice production. This year, a total of 7,000 hectares of rice fields have been cultivated, with 1,000 farmers as beneficiaries. It is expected that 16,000 metric tons of meal rice will be produced.
The minority spokesperson on Agric, Dr. Owusu Akoto, however, disagreed with the minister on some of the interventions.
The figures given here, the acreages, the yields, and so on, you would be very lucky if you come up with an additional production of even 40,000 metric tons. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about a total of 577,000 metric tons of import of rice in 2013 alone. So this 40,000 is a drop in the ocean. It's not really going to, is it going to solve the problem of reducing imports? That's the question I want to ask the minister. These 3 projects that he's given in his answer, does he honestly believe that it is going to reduce imports in any significant way?
Other papers were laid and motions on reports of some of the committees on the budget estimates were moved and adopted by the House.
Right, let's do some sports now. And the World Boxing Council has honored Ghana's Azuma Nelson at its convention in Mirage Hotel in Las Vegas. Azuma, already enshrined in the International Hall of Fame, was honored as the greatest super featherweight in the history of the WBC for his achievements during his close to 2 decades boxing career. Ghana boxing legend Azuma Nelson has received what could be arguably his biggest international honor as the best super featherweight boxer of all time in the United States of America. This was at the World Boxing Council's convention in Las Vegas, Nevada. Azuma held the WBC title in the super featherweight division for a decade, making him unique in the division and on the African continent. This feat earned him many other honors, including his induction as the first African into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. This major award comes weeks after his historic launch of his biography here in Accra. The first WBC convention since the passing of Jose Sulaiman, founder of the premier sanctioning body, brought together legendary names like Jeff Finneck, Julio Cesar Chavez, Greg Hogan, promoter Don King, and a host of other names. Andrei Rabiansky was awarded Man of the Year. Michelle Patterson was Woman of the Year, and the award for the Best Boxing Commissioner was won by Ken Moriata of Japan. Guinness Records attended to recognize these achievements. Legendary promoter Don King and iconic fighter Julio Cesar Chavez received the award record for the February 20, 1993 Mega Clash in Mexico. Don Jose Sulaiman was honored as Sports International Leader with the most time at the helm. Let's do some football now. It's all about the African Cup of Nations, and former national goalkeeper Bukhari Dunbar has told Joy Sports he's excited at the prospects of being appointed goalkeepers trainer for the Black Stars ahead of the 2015 Nations Cup to be hosted by Equatorial Guinea. The Ghana Football Association's Executive Committee is expected to make major changes to the technical setup of the Black Stars, and Dunbar has been tipped to replace incumbent Nasamu Yakubu, whose methods were criticized by Adam Lassen-Korase after the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Dunbar says he knows the expectations will be high when he's appointed, but he's ready for the challenge.
Well, why not? I'm not just coming across as somebody who just wants to be a goalkeeper's trainer. I have played as a goalkeeper before. I am very, very aware of the intricacies of that particular position. And I've transited from being a goalkeeper to becoming a coach. And not just an outfield coach, but goalkeeping specifics. It has been my passion. I've invested in my career over a period of time. I have gone through the various motions, both locally and nationally. You are very, very much aware of this. But what happens? We all want to challenge ourselves to the tasks. And I'm saying that when the opportunity avails itself, I will take it up and also show to Ghanaians what I can do.
Chelsea currently leading Derby County by 1-0 in the Capital One Cup. Eden Hazard's got a goal in that one. We'll see what happens there. That'll be all for sports tonight. I'm George Addy Jr. There's some more. Do stay on.
Hello, there's now time to give you some updates in business. I'm Abigail Owusu. We'll start off with the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP, calling for proper management of the Ghana Gas and Ghana National Petroleum Corporation GNPC measure to avoid friction that could render the takeover fruitless. ASEP believes there should be a consensus between the two entities to ensure a smooth takeover. This call follows recent disagreements between the Ghana Gas and GNPC over whether or not the takeover process is done. Processes for the GNPC to take over Ghana Gas began when the 2015 budget announced it. The Energy Ministry issued a statement saying the integration of Ghana Gas and the GNPC was completed, a statement the Ghana Gas refuted. Energy think tank ASEP, however, says the misunderstandings between the two entities could disrupt the process if not managed accordingly.
This is a high-value industry. Everything in there is a lot of money. We have invested close to $1 billion, into the gas project and the company. And the least you want to do is to get anybody aggrieved. That is why it's important to jaw than to war, because you're dealing with a flammable commodity, and once you create that room for that infighting, it's going to be difficult to get people from Ghana Gas working cordially with GNPC, and that is very, very important. If you don't get that and people start sabotaging GNPC to prove a point that it wasn't necessary after all, you wouldn't achieve the purpose for which you want to merge the two companies. And I think that consensus is what is required.
ASEP has meanwhile endorsed the measure.
Taking Ghana Gas back to GNPC is like the chicken coming home to roost. Obviously, it will save Ghana a lot of cost, looking at the bureaucratic nature, trying to allow different players negotiating with our partners, and also streamline the monitoring processes.
The center says the GNPC should ensure it manages Ghana Gas's debt portfolio of about $1 billion to ensure its balance sheet remains strong. Abigail Owusu for Joy News. Now, away from the oil and gas sector, government has reiterated its intention to support domestic industries promoting made-in-Ghana goods and services. Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed said government has pumped monetary assistance into the pharmaceutical industries to facilitate expansion and job creation. He promised further assistance to poultry farmers. He was speaking at the opening of the 2014 grand sales at the trade fair. A report by Beatrice Soa.
The Grand Sale 2014, in collaboration with Made in Ghana Fair, is to create awareness of goods produced locally in order to invite investors from within and across the country. Board chairman of the Trade Fair Complex, Hannah Amwate, emphasized the need to patronize Made in Ghana goods and says work is in progress to upgrade the Ghana International Trade Fair Complex.
So this year the Trade Fair decided to co-locate and uniquely so, two fairs. Our grand sales co-locating with the Made in Ghana Fair and in support of the President's agenda of promoting Made in Ghana goods and services. So we encourage people to come out and patronize a lot of Made in Ghana products in support of our country.
Speaking at the opening of Grand Sales 2014, at the trade fair, Deputy Trade and Industry Minister Ibrahim Murtala noted government is poised to support some domestic industries and encouraged Ghanaians to do same.
Government is looking at supporting certain domestic, if like industries. I've indicated in my speech that huge millions of Ghana cedis have been given to pharmaceutical companies. We are just in the process of giving same to poultry farmers because we import a lot of poultry and poultry products from Europe to to Ghana. Now, if we support them and they expand their businesses, they produce more, we don't need to bring those things from Europe to Ghana, because our consumption, our taste has unfortunately changed towards it. We have become so westernized that we prefer goods that are produced in the West than goods that are produced here.
The CEO of Kantanka Group's Kwejo Safo, who is also the ambassador for the fair, urged government to implement business-friendly policies to support growth of local industries.
Once government is able to decrease the factors, the factors of production, be it fuel and electricity, the utility bills and all that, for local manufacturers, it will easily make them very able to decrease or sell their product at a very low price. So what I would urge the government to do is also to make sure our factors of production that we have in this country are at very reasonable rates, and also it will encourage the producers and the manufacturers to also make their prices very competitive.
Hello there again, some more news. After years of staying without potable water, the people of Adenta, Madina and its environs can now heave a sigh of relief. Now, government has promised that by the end of December, residents will have access to 40 million barrels of water per day following the completion of the Pong Water Expansion Project. The Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, which announced this to journalists at its session of Meet the Press, also indicated that it would improve urban water coverage from 63% to 73% by December 2015.
It's my pleasure to announce that the project is practically complete, and before Christmas, His Excellency President John Mahama will turn on the pumps to deliver 20 million gallons of water a day out of the 40 million gallons of water a day to improve water supply to these communities: Adenta, Madina, Kwabena, Ashoman, Northwest, East, Legon, Ashalebotwe, Hachoboy, Asofa, Dome, University of Ghana, Valley View University, University of Professional Studies, Legon Presec, Bauleshi, Ajirengano, and Pantine. 2 weeks after we have delivered the first 20 million gallons, the other 20 million gallons of water a day will be delivered by the end of the year.
Sector Minister Alhaji Collins Dauda added the Pong Intake Rehabilitation Project has been completed and will also add 3.3 million gallons of water a day to the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area water system, having completed the 6 million gallons per day treatment plant expansion at Barikese, a £23.9 million project to lay transmission pipelines for the full utilization of the facilities before Parliament for approval and should commence in 2015. The Ministry also intends to increase rural water coverage from 65% to 76% by end of 2015. Government will be drilling 20,000 boreholes over a 5-year period from the Consolidated Fund for Rural Communities. Touching on the housing sector, Alhaji Collins Dauda mentioned progress had been made towards the completion of the 4,720 affordable housing units.
The entire Pong site of 1,526 housing units has been allocated to the Tema Development Corporation for completion, and out of this number, 216 units have been allocated to the Ghana Police Service for completion. And the ministry also handed over the Boteman site of 1,478 units on the 25th March this year to the Social Security and the National Insurance Trust for completion. The project is expected to be completed in 2016 use.
He added that a bill to establish a real estate agency authority to regulate the sector has been approved by Cabinet and is to be laid before Parliament. A draft rent bill 2010 to address the current challenges with rent is also before Parliament awaiting approval. Abigail Owusu for Joy News.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama is encouraging private sector support for the security agencies to promote peace and security across the country, taking a cue from a collaborative effort between the private sector and the police under the watch of Regional Police Commander, that's Ashanti Regional Police Commander DCOP Kofi Boakye. The President said security and peace is a collective process. He was taken round the new M.A. Al-Hassan Police Conference Hall and the newly rehabilitated Regional Police Headquarters when he paid a surprise visit to the Ashanti Regional Police Headquarters on Tuesday. President Mahama described the leadership of DCOP Kofi Boakye as innovative and hands-on, deserving emulation across the country.
It's a beautiful regional headquarters. Indeed, it's the most beautiful regional headquarters in the country, I can say. So I commend the regional commander and his men for the innovation. They have a long list of private sector, enterprises that have assisted them, and they've acknowledged all of them. I think that the private sector must help the police. Government is doing its best, providing them with equipment and logistics. But I think that where the private sector too can help, they should do so, because peace is a collective thing, security is a collective thing, and if they're able to supplement what government is able to do, then this is what you find. Very beautiful regional headquarters. It's good, innovative, and his hands-on. It's good. I think that we should have the same all over the country.